Another question I had about this section here was, can we link the serpent to Satan? Like, it doesn't say that Satan is in the serpent. He's indwelled the serpent at this point. He's a fallen angel that's inside this animal, controlling it. But can we actually link the two? How do we make that connection of serpent and Satan? Why isn't it just a serpent that's talking for whatever reason? Well, in this passage, Genesis 3:1, the serpent does refer to both a literal snake and Satan. And linking the two together is seen in a few verses. We're going to take a look at them here. Well, first, I want to take you to 2 Corinthians 11:3, which says, "But I am afraid that as the serpent deceived Eve by his cunning, your thoughts will be led astray from a sincere and pure devotion to Christ." We looked at this with the last question about this being mythology, but taking a look here, that serpent deceiving Eve is also a reference to Satan, the devil, the father of lies. How do we get that link? Okay, let's go to Revelation 12:9. Revelation 12:9, which reads, "And the great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him." This passage talks about the fall of Satan, right? He was thrown down to the world. He was called this ancient serpent, right? Linking the two together, that Satan and the serpent are referred to one creature, both a literal serpent and this angel, this fallen angel, Satan. Another verse here in Revelation 20, verse 2, "And he seized the dragon, that ancient serpent, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years." Speaking about how Satan is going to be destroyed for the 1,000-year reign of Christ. But here, linking the two together, seized the dragon, that ancient serpent, talking about Satan, linking this actual serpent and Satan together. So yes, we can link the two. They are seen as both a literal snake and the devil himself. And that is who is working inside this account, this story here. So my next question here, what was the purpose of Satan indwelling a serpent? Why does he have to come down inside this snake form, right? Well, the purpose of Satan indwelling the serpent was for two reasons. First, it was for communicating with the woman, right? We see that in 3:1. The latter half of it starts out, "He said to the woman," he referring to the serpent that was mentioned in the first part of the verse. So he's communicating with the woman, and this communication was with the intent to tempt her, right? That's what we're going to see as we continue on in this account. My next question is, why did Satan use a serpent? Of all the animals, why the serpent? Why was this one chosen? Well, again, looking at 3:1, it says that he was more crafty than any other beast of the field. Now, the Hebrew word for crafty or subtle, depending on your Bible there, is arum. And it has various meanings, but it includes subtle, crafty, shrewd, prudent, cunning. There's a little bit of interesting wordplay going on here between chapter 2, verse 25 and 3:1 in the Hebrew. The word used for naked is arumum, or arum, with a long O, arum. But Satan was arum, with a U, arum. Humanity is viewed in 2:25 with innocence and integrity. They're naked. Their nakedness was showing that they were oblivious to evil. They were oblivious to the traps and the lies that Satan was going to place down. And this now becomes the attack that Satan uses. Their innocence is what he attacks. In his craftiness, he will take advantage of their integrity, of their innocence, and try to deceive them. The word being used to describe the serpent is not evil in itself. The word is actually a neutral word, and it can be seen in both a positive and a negative light. It is because the serpent is more subtle, is more crafty, that Satan chooses to use the serpent. It's because that he is more cunning. He's able to lay the traps easier. This literal serpent was shrewd and cunning in a neutral sense. We see that in serpents today, right? It's very hard to kind of see a serpent wiggling around. I remember this one time I was riding a four-wheeler on my family's property, and we're riding around, and if I wasn't paying attention, I would have clearly run over a serpent, because it just slithered out of the bush and into another bush right across the road. And I was like, whoa, that's really kind of cool. It just kind of wiggles along there. So they're cunning, right? It didn't make any noise when it was cutting across the road. It was crafty. Satan is using this serpent, though, in a bad sense. He's taking that characteristic of the serpent and using it for evil. God didn't create the snake with the characteristic of shrewdness for a bad thing. That's just how he created it. That was God's intention of creating the serpent in that way. However, Satan is going to use that for a sinful purpose. So we're going to look now, we're going to continue on into the attack that Satan does. And we're going to examine his attack.